Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about today is green reading. I know you stated to me that you said you feel like you're an okay green reader, but not great. What do you feel like is your biggest problem area as far as reading greens?
I think just being confident in what I read.
Okay.
Because if you read a couple of putts and the ball doesn't go where you think it will, and then you start second guessing yourself.
Of
I feel
course.
like if you just want to go over the fundamentals or
Well,
whatever,
it's
so that I have a good base.
of course, yeah. So basically, reading greens, especially in Florida, we have grain. Almost everywhere you go in Florida is going to have grain. Now, the grain is going to be, you'll see on the cup here, there's kind of a burnt edge here. So that's the way the grass is flowing. So that means the grass is actually flowing towards that burnt edge. So if you were to hit a putt from over here versus a putt from over here, this putt is going to be a lot faster than this putt is going to be. So when you're coming this way, you're coming with the grain, so it's flowing with the actual grain of the grass. When you're coming back from this way, you're coming back into the blades of the grass, so it's going to be slower.
Yeah,
So-
and I grew up in Wisconsin, so we didn't have to worry about this.
Yeah, so you grew up on bent greens, which is a totally different animal as far as reading greens. And bent greens are obviously what you see is what you get for the most part.
Right. So
So-
I never had to worry about green before.
Exactly. So the best way to do it, you see guys on tour are, bending down and trying to read the green and trying to see the slope. The best way to read a green is you have to break, especially the longer putts, you have to break them up into a few different putts. So in other words, if you're 30 feet away and you have a slope that's kind of in the middle of your putt, and maybe you're going uphill the first half and downhill the second half, I like to break that putt up into at least two putts. Try to keep it as less complicated as possible, but if you break that putt into two putts, you're going to be able to see a little bit differently, what you're doing as far as, the putt exactly. So if let's say you're 20 feet away, and let's say I got a ridge about 5 feet away from the hole, and it's going to be downhill once I get to that ridge. So you have to think, okay, I got to get that putt basically to the end of that ridge and then let it roll out the rest of the way. So the best way to read a green is to find the high point. And what I mean by that is when you're trying to find the high point in the putt, if you put a ball here, let's say this putt here is a right to lefter. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to find the very, very top of that break. So the farthest that putt's going to break out before it comes back in. So in other words, if let's say I'm hitting the putt from here. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to look at this putt and I'm going to go, okay, so it's got a little bit of slope from right to left. And a great way to read greens too, and you'll see like Adam Scott and a couple other players are doing it, you'll actually see them come behind the putt and they will straddle the line, and what they're trying to do is they're trying to feel it with their feet. And I honestly think that that is a great way to feel greens because your eyes lie to you. Your eyes aren't going to always tell you what's going on. So if I'm going to read this putt personally, I would love to see you learn how to read greens with your feet, as well as your eyes, but with your feet as well. So I'm going to come up about midway up this putt, and I'm going to try and just relax my body and feel which way my body is going to lean with the slope. So you can kind of get an idea, especially on greens that are very sloped. If you got a putt that's going to break 5 feet from 20 feet, that's a lot of break from 20 feet. So you got to kind of estimate, okay, how high do I need to hit this putt where it's going to come back and break towards the hole? And it's always better to be above the hole than below the hole. You can't make a putt below the hole, but it has a chance to go in from above the hole. So if I'm going to hit this putt, I'm going to come out here and I'm going to visually try and see, okay, I want to hit this putt right here. That's my aim point. So now when I go to hit this putt, I'm going to come in here and go, okay, that's my aim point now. So now I'm going to aim for that ball, and now I just have to determine the speed from here. So now you just have to think, how hard do I need to hit this? But I'm going to hit it right at that ball, and I just barely missed it high, but I gave it a chance to go in, and I was pretty accurate on my read. If I would have hit it just a hair softer, it would have went in. But that being said, that will give you an idea of what you need to feel. Now, downhill is a little bit more complicated because you have to really, pay attention to the speed, especially if it's real downhill. So just when you're reading putts downhill, just really pay attention to what the slope is doing and also how far downhill you are. So if I'm going to come back this way and hit this putt, now I'm doing the opposite. This is going to be left to right, and now I need to pick a point from this side where I want this putt to go. So I'm going to pick about there because this side of the green isn't as much of a slope as that side of the green. And I'm going to pick that spot, and I'm going to try and hit it to that spot, and I hit it a little too hard, and as you can see how much it rolled out. So you have to be a little bit more careful on downhill putts. I'm sure you know that. You've played a lot of golf. When you hit the downhill putts, you have to be a little more cautious, a little more careful, but that's a good thing. You know, when you have a difficult putt, you have to be more cautious. So do you have any questions as far as basically what I've said so far on reading greens, or do you kind of understand what I'm saying as far as the high point, the low point, all that stuff?
Yep.
Okay, good. And another thing to practice that is, you know, you can go out on a green, find a green that has a lot of slope to it. Every single putt, there is a straight point from both sides of the hole on every single hole. It doesn't matter what it is. So if I find the straight point, which is probably actually somewhere, maybe on this side actually, it's probably about here. So this putt should be fairly straight, and maybe a little bit of break, but you get the point. So if the straight putt is here, this putt is also going to be straight. Most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, this should be a straight putt as well. And that's where the whole feeling with your feet, you know, it's called aim point. It's kind of like a clock. You know, it goes around the clock, and when you get to that center line is where your straight putt is. So everything else around the clock probably has some break to it, more than likely, almost all the time. So that's a great way to look at it and to, you know, think about it when you're trying to read a green is when you're out there, find that straight putt and then go from there and see what your, you know, differentiate and breaks are.
Okay.
Okay, that sound good?
Yes, thanks.
No other questions or anything like that?
No.
Okay, good. Good job.